So I'm gonna do something kind of like this. So the princess line is your tradition. How many of you know what a princess line is? Can someone tell me? All of you know. Who wants to tell me?
It's a seam that goes from like half shoulder across the apex down to the waist. It's like where you do like a fisheye.
Yep, yeah. Anyone else have more to add? More? Who doesn't? Who's not sure what a princess line is? So a princess line is a seam line that cuts through the apex. So like the most traditional princess line starts at the shoulder, mid-shoulder, cuts straight through the apex, under the bust and down. It's what you see on your dress form. So this is a princess line. Then there's a mid armhole. You can do it from the neck. So you could bring it from center front. So it has to cut through your apex. As long as it's cutting through the apex, then you can get that fit. So the whole point of the princess line is to have this tight fit and the princess line extends all the way down your leg too. These pants are princess line. So you can do princess line pants and get that fit and the flare. So as long as it's cutting through the bust, you can get that shape that you want. And through the hip. So like back in the 1700s, everything was tight here and fit and flare here. But then I think it was Charles James. It might be Charles James, not Charles Worth. I might be wrong. I think it was Charles James. He's the one who started doing the princess line. And so then it was fitted below the waist and then it flared out. So then women had that flexibility in what they could do. So I'm gonna do the princess line and I'm gonna show you how to do that. If you wanna do princess line, you can. It might be good, I recommend it. You could just work with the dart and see what that gives you. You know, that's an easier way. Well, I don't know if it's easier, but maybe slightly easier. I'm gonna do I'm gonna do a deep plunging. Instead of going straight across like this, you could do that. I'm gonna plunge down and I'm gonna do a princess line, okay? You could do something like this. I think I'm also gonna do a seam right here in the front. So it's really helpful to you guys get in the habit of drawing something first. Trust me, I'm a designer too, and sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna get in there, I'm gonna mess around, and then like you've wasted so much time, you're unorganized, you're all over the place, and nothing happened, and hours went by. So like, I just really recommend like thinking about it ahead of time, doing something rough, a drawing, or have a picture you ripped out of a magazine or a book or something. I totally recommend doing that. Sometimes it's fun to just, on the dress form, especially when you're draping, it's fun to just get up there and screw around. If you have some fabric, maybe I recommend like a fabric that you're trying to play with, but then it might be fun to see how that fabric works. But generally speaking, it's good to get in that discipline of having some sort of little drawing. You can always deviate from it once you get going. So that's kind of what I'm gonna do. So let's get started. We're gonna use the front contour guide again. And again, this project, you're gonna sew it in muslin, but go ahead and, customize your design a bit to what you wanna do. If you wanna have a little strap on it, you can. And you're gonna make a facing for it, so think about that, like how much time and energy do I have to put into my design, and is it gonna require a more labor-intensive facing? There's all those questions you have to think about when you're designing. And if you have a boss someday that you're working for, whether it's a customer or a design director or the CEO of the company, they're gonna have parameters for you too. They're gonna have cost parameters, and there's always someone out there who's gonna have parameters for you. So I'm gonna trace it off all the way. I'm not gonna need this up here, but I'm still just gonna quickly trace it. I'm not gonna trace all those contour guides, but just the outline. And again, depending on, you know, your design, that's gonna determine where your, which of these you're gonna use. So I've traced it, I marked, so again, there's some confusion here. This is the apex. So this is the highest point of the bust, and this is my vanishing point. This is the end of the dart, which is backed off my apex. So when I'm drafting, I'm using the apex because that's how I'm pivoting, like, and I'm slashing to the apex. But when you make your final pattern, you always back off the apex, mark the vanishing point an inch away, and redraw your dart. The apex should not be in your final pattern, right? Just the vanishing point. Because if you have your dart, sometimes you might have your dart go to the apex, because Madonna, you know the famous, you know, video, the Vogue video, and she's wearing the corset with the bullet bra, like that's going to the apex, to the max. But usually we don't want a look like that. Usually it's a softer look. So that's why you vanish. You bring it off the apex. Does everyone understand? And then there's a third hole that some of you have been asking about, and that's that 1/2 inch below the vanishing point, which is called a drill hole. And that's a sewing instruction. So a lot of final patterns will have the drill hole so that the sewer knows my dart ends a 1/2 inch beyond that. So the drill hole is a way to, then you don't have to draw it, you don't have to trace off dart legs. You don't have to you don't pierce the end of the dart, because that would rip the fabric. So that's why they back it off a 1/2 inch, pierce the fabric with a little hole, and then the sewer knows I have to vanish that dart a 1/2 inch beyond it. Does that make sense? So those are the 3 holes that I've been talking about. This third one is a sewing instruction. This is my actual end of the dart. It's called the vanishing point. And then there's the apex. So slopers all have an apex, but they probably don't have a vanishing point. I put it in as extra for me because I like having that, and I can show you guys. Okay. All right, so I've traced this all off, and now I'm gonna take this. For number 5, this is gonna be, I'm gonna just mark it like this. That's all I need, because I'm gonna just draw in my lines. So I'm gonna be activating number 5 with the style, number 6. So number 5, number 6, because this is my strapless line right on that radius. And number 7, because we're always taking this in. And number 4. So number 4 is my under bust, and I want to get this tight fitted look for my strapless design. I don't want it like blousing out under the bust. So 5, 6, 7, and 4. So I've already got 5, I've got 7, so now I just need to use my carbon paper to trace off 6. And I'm also going to trace off part of that bust radius. So I'm having a hard time knowing which side of this paper is which. So. Sliding this under, and I'm going to trace off. I'm going to go down all the way down to here because I know I want my design to be down there. Get this. And now I'm going to trace off this guy. Be careful with number 6. Sometimes it's confusing in here, so make sure you're tracing off the right line. So 3/8 and 3/8. So it's this line out here. It kind of cuts into the number 2, and you might want to extend it a little depending how high your style line is going to be. So that's all I need. Oh, now I need to do my dart, because this dart is unique. It's taken in on both sides to give a more fitted look under the bust, which is useful for the umpire design, but I'm going to use it for this princess line because I'm going to be doing a princess line. So I want to trace this outside line here on the dart. Because it's an extra 5/8 on each side that we're bringing it in. Okay, so now I can start truing these up. So these are kind of messy because I traced them and my hand's not that steady. So I'm going to true these up. I'm going to draw in my number 7. I don't need to worry about any of this up here. I'm going to draw in, this is my number 5. And I'm going to draw in my darts. And I'm going to draw the center of my dart. So this is really important. I know this is where I had my vanishing point. So I recommend doing that right away. So you find the center, come down to the dart legs, it's 3, so 1.5 is the center. I mark it because that's where I'm going to be slicing with my scissors. I have to slash so that I can pivot and transfer. So there's my center of the dart because I'll be slashing up to, you know, if I need to do any pivoting and transferring. So I just automatically do that.
How far down is the vanishing point from the apex?
1 inch. So that can vary. It can be anywhere from a 1/2 inch to 1 inch. So I'm telling you guys, we're gonna make it 1 inch because I was looking at those slopers you traced from the classroom and it's about 1 inch. So we're just gonna stick with that. Some people only do a 1/2, just so you know, depending on your person, what your shape is, okay? But at least a 1/2 and no more than 1 inch, okay? Good question. So I just wanted to highlight that apex. I'm gonna sort of rough this in a little bit so I can see it better. I wanna drop my armhole a 1/2. So with the halter style, we did that too. So we're gonna do that again. Kind of gives you a sexier, nicer look. So I wanted to bring, so we're doing this look here, right? That's low. So I want to bring it all the way to here. So that's how many inches down? That's like 7 inches down. So if you want to get an idea for like where that hits, you can always go up to your dress form. So yeah, that's right there. So I'm kind of going, if you don't want to go for that and you want it more up here or up here, maybe you're up here and you're going like this. So it's always good to go to the dress form and get a reference for where you are and what measurement you want to be on the paper. Sometimes I just do it on myself too. So now I want to, again, I'm kind of like a drawer. Some people, maybe you like to use the curve. But I know I want to stay on my radius here. I don't want to go below that. I mean, if you're doing something crazy like that, I guess you could, but for us, for right now, let's just kind of stay either at the radius or above, okay? And not too far above. I want it to be strapless. So, and then here, I'm gonna just curve this. So I have to rough in this first before I start doing all my slashing, because I need to know where my new style line is, right? And I just want kind of like this beautiful, nice curve. So now I know, this is where I need to be at this point, and this guy is activated, and I'm gonna be using these new lines here. So I'm gonna go ahead and start cutting now. So this is my draft. So let's write this down. And And then I'm gonna make a separate final pattern. So this is what I want to take in first. So I'm going to slash up the center. Through but not, to but not through, right? And I'm going to slash on one of these lines, to but not through, and then just bring this guy in a little bit and tape it. And that's gonna just give this a tighter fit right there in between the bust. This is the between the bust.
What number is that? What number is that? Is that 5?
Number 5, yeah. The between the bust. I think Michelle already used this on one of her, did you already do this on one of your designs? The scoop neck? So this is still my center front and my side seam. So that's the first, so I've already done number 7. Now I just did number 6. This was 6, or sorry, 5, number 5. 6 is this one, and 7. And this is for the darts, okay? Depending on your design, you might not be using this one. If you're just going straight across, you might not use it. So now, since I'm doing a princess line, I'm not going to slash and fit it. I'm just gonna use, maybe this out of the way. I'm just gonna use this as my princess line coming down this side and my princess line coming down this side. Because then this is just gonna be gone. So this is what I need to take in, right? Because it's my strapless contour guide and I have to take that in to make it fitted here. So this has to go away. So you're either slicing up, cutting, and bringing it in. But since I'm doing a princess line, I don't have to do that. Since I'm doing a princess line, I'm just gonna create my princess line along this line here and go here like this, all the way down. And this all goes away. And then my other, so this is pattern piece 1 and this is pattern piece 2. So when you look at your drawing, it's also helpful to see how many pattern pieces you're gonna have. So like this pattern, this drawing over here is more complicated. So the more complicated, the more pattern pieces, the more work, right? So think about that. So this one is 1, 2, 3 plus the back. So this one's 4 pieces. This one's just 1, 2, so 3, 4. Well, this is 4 too. But if I don't do a princess line, if I just do a plain back, then it's only 3 pieces. You know, maybe I don't want to have that many pieces to sew, or you know, or maybe you want that seam line for a reason because of the I put it in because I want that continuity. So I think it's always good to be thinking about how many pattern pieces. So this is just like 1 pattern piece here, you know. But if you have, maybe you might want a piecing here that cuts across here. You want this to be a separate type of fabric. So then this would be another pattern piece. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and pick a side to start working with. And this is where, have any of you drafted princess lines yet?
Yes.
Did you do that in the first class? Okay, so then this is kind of review for you guys. Okay. So I'm just gonna start cleaning this up and get something that looks pretty. So I'm gonna soften this out right here, and then I'm going to soften this out. But not, I don't want to take off a lot. Just is the minimal amount that I can take out, you know, to soften it, give it some more shape, give it a better shape that's not bullet-like. So I'm liking this shape right now. and I want it just straight down, so I'm gonna cut that out. So if you want to do something more complicated, then that might be another step. So like, if you want to have another style line across the top, then you should probably like have a plan, because then you're going to need to draw that in now, right? You need to have your notches. So even though I've done this, I want to make sure that these two panels match, right? Do you remember your notches? So it's helpful to know where my apex was, because I have to fit these two back together, and it gets tricky to sew. So usually there's a notch 2 inches below the apex and 2 inches above. So before I cut this apart, I'm gonna do my notches. So 2 inches here is here, and 2 inches here is here. So that's how these guys are gonna fit together on this side. And then I'm gonna do my 2 inches here, and my 2 inches here. I'm going to use this because this is pretty much curved quite a bit. So like down here. Did any of you in the draping class drape princess lines?
I did. At least I tried.
Do you remember? So I think draping a princess line is more practical. It's nice to be able to lay out your style lines, or if you just want to use this. But again, this is another tool. You need to know flat pattern making. This is flat. Most businesses do flat only. They don't do a lot of draping. That's more expensive and time consuming. Okay, so I have my notches, so now I'm going to cut. And again, if you're doing something more complicated with like another style line, get that roughed in now and start figuring out where your notches are going to be so that it lines up properly when you're done. So there's one piece, another piece. We're going to be doing princess lines again with the torso, and that's going to be your midterm project. So you'll get lots of practice with that. Finish cutting this. So now this is pretty much done, unless I want to like tweak my, true these style lines up a little bit. So I'm just kind of looking at it to see how I like it. And I think I'm pretty much, I think it looks pretty good. So now I can just trace over it. And oh, so the other thing is your grain line. So we know it's easy. Our grain line on this piece is easy, but on this piece, it's a little more complicated. So, hello?
That's maybe it's the maybe it's the euros.
Is everything okay?
It's the euros pattern paper. The thing is the euros.
Two?
Yeah.
No, that's not
Oh,
fine.
did you leave your bag outside?
No.
The really?
Did someone